I stream often, and boy howdy do I put on an exquisite show if I do say so myself, but don't just take my word for it, ask everyone that shows up. When you come to my streams, you get to see me without my makeup on, you get me raw, you get to hear me pee when nature calls, and you get to hear me rant. And one of the things I love to rant about is how much insurance is a scam. In particular, health insurance. Surprise, surprise. My feelings on it are no secret. I've screamed it from the mountaintops for a couple years now. I think I've only made like 1 or 2 videos on it, but stream regulars are probably tired of hearing me bitch about it. But can't help it. I think it is one of the most diabolical, corrupt, evil industries that operates in this country right now. It is deplorable. I think it is a Schmeckeldorfing goblin that's taking people's money and eating their ass, waiting for them to die. You pay health insurance providers for years, and then when you need them, you ask them to help with something major. They do everything in their power to not do that. Their job, their goal, and they even use AI now to help with this, is to deny these claims. That's where they make their bread and butter. You pay them for one purpose, and their goal is to find ways of not doing the one thing they're designed for. It's like if you bought a washing machine that only sometimes decides it'll wash your clothes, but it picks and chooses which ones you're allowed to wash inside of it. It's so stupid. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I am somehow still surprised at the depravity of this industry. United Healthcare just threatened legal action against a doctor who recently went viral when she was talking about how United Healthcare pulled her out of an active operation in order to ask her if an overnight stay was really necessary. I'll go ahead and play that clip before we dive into this threat from United Healthcare.
I just did 2 bilateral deeps and 2 bilateral tissue expanders for patients. And I've never had this happen before, but during the second deep, I got a phone call into the operating room saying that United Healthcare wanted me to call them about one of the patients who was having surgery today, who was actually asleep having surgery. And, said I had to call right now. So I scrubbed out of my case and I called United Healthcare, and the gentleman said he needed some information about her, wanted to know her diagnosis and whether her inpatient stay should be justified. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer. And the gentleman said, actually, I don't. That's a different department that would know that information. And I was like, well, she does need to stay overnight tonight. And you have all the information with you because I got approval for this surgery. And I need to go back and be with my patient now. But yeah, it's out of control.
Out of control doesn't even begin to describe it. My moose knuckle is out of control when I slip into a pair of joggers. This is beyond out of control. This is just disgusting. It's just disgusting. Health insurance companies are at their happiest when you are at your worst. When they deny a claim and get to save a little bit of money there, pinch a few pennies, avoiding doing the thing you pay them for, they pop champagne over your cold fucking corpse. And don't worry, you'll go to Valhalla knowing that at least United Healthcare made a little extra money at the bottom line. In a just world, this shit would be outlawed. It's just unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. So, she's describing United Healthcare apparently pulling her out of a procedure in order to check with her if this is something that's actually justified. Yeah, asshole, it is justified, I would think. And also, now you are putting the patient at risk, interrupting an active procedure. It's craziness. It's craziness. Just actually flabbergasted by this story. I'm spitting. I don't know if you could see that. It was a water fountain of spit there. So much saliva. Point is, this doctor was in the middle of a procedure, and United Healthcare made her stop so that way they could see if they could find a way of denying this claim, which eventually they did, by the way. They did deny that claim, allegedly. That claim, it did get denied. Shocker from United Healthcare, the health insurance company with the most denied claims in the nation. Also, now that there's this prevalence of AI to help deny claims, they're getting even more efficient with it, something I'm sure they're very proud of. It's unbelievable. I've already talked about that video quite a bit on stream, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. You can see the lunacy. You can, with your own peepers, your own functioning frontal lobe, you can watch what the doctor's saying there and be pretty outraged by it. justifiably so. Now, United Healthcare is slapping back saying that it's a load of hooey. This is all just dirty barnacles. It's a false claim, and the doctor's spreading misinformation, and so they're threatening her with a lawsuit about it. We're going to go through that because, United Healthcare doesn't really have the best reputation when it comes to telling the truth. And it's just a shocking move from them to play this hardball here in the wake of everything they've been going through. Their CEO got banished to the Shadow Realm not that long ago, and people are still celebrating that. And the company, instead of trying to, take that as a message of, wow, people hate us for some reason, maybe we should, reflect and see what we can do to be better, they're instead being worse. They are actively being worse. It's like they dislike that people don't like them, so they're trying to give them even more reasons to hate them. Like, oh, you guys already don't like us? Well, fuck it, we're gonna stop pretending to care. It's scorched earth now, we're not paying for shit. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if United Healthcare initiates a new protocol where they start stationing agents at every hospital in order to monitor everything and just deny shit on the spot. Nope. I wrote this down on the clipboard. It's only 2 broken legs. The morphine will not be covered by us. Unnecessary, not justified. And then going into every surgical procedure. Stop everything! Halt! We're denying this one. This surgery is this is frivolous. It's a frivolous surgery. The patient is more than capable of living his life without a liver or a kidney. So why are we doing this transplant? This is ridiculous. Denied. He's faking it. Anyway, though, let's dive back into the meat and focus on what the actual topic is here today. So that post came from a surgeon, Elizabeth Potter. It blew up on TikTok and Instagram, and now UHC, they're pouting. They're really upset. So they're accusing her of libel, and also there was some threats of legal retaliation if she didn't comply, which was taking the videos down and issuing a public apology. They wanted her to grovel at their feet, kiss their little tootsies, and basically say, I was wrong about everything. They accused her of knowingly sharing misinformation and also hosting threats against the company's executives because people in the comments were obviously making references to the assassination. Your claims are false. You clearly know they are false. You falsely laid the blame for your office's error on United Healthcare publicly, unleashing a firestorm of dangerous misinformation. We expect you to promptly correct this publicly by removing your videos and posting a public apology. The cease and desist has been reported by Bloomberg. Also, United Healthcare hired the preeminent defamation law firm Claire Locke, which has a really impressive resume in defamation cases. Hey, big fuck you to Claire Locke. Just you should deny this one. Of course they're not going to. They're going to try and hose United Healthcare for all they're worth in this defamation case that they're mounting against a surgeon who is just spreading the word about how fucking corrupt this company is. Now, she did post on her Instagram saying, I recently shared a video after I was asked to call United Healthcare from the operating room to answer administrative questions about the patient who was having surgery to treat breast cancer. Despite my efforts, they denied her stay. Wow. What saints over there at UHC really looking after the care of their clients. That's, wow, man. The benevolent gods over at UHC. We are so lucky that we get to suckle their bosom, and they take care of us. They help us in our time of need. That's so lovely. Denied her stay. That's so fucking par for the course for this company. I spoke out because this has simply gone too far. I'm sharing United Healthcare's letter to me in its entirety. I'll let it speak for itself. My words were true and the situation was absurd. I followed all safety protocol and my patient was with my co-surgeon who continued operating. I had requested an overnight stay for medical reasons. This was not an error on my part. I also think most normal, rational people would also think that probably an overnight stay after a very serious breast cancer surgery operation makes sense. That tracks. That doesn't seem like they're trying to get one over on United Healthcare over there. I feel like that's definitely something that's super justified, but hey, United Healthcare, they've got AI now helping them out to deny these claims. They're really good at this shit now. The gaslighting and harassment in the letter which United sent me has not worked to do anything other than strengthen my resolve. I will continue to speak honestly, clearly, and plainly about the state of healthcare in the United States of America. That's great news that she's not folding to this intimidation. I really hope this goes her way. I believe her story. And do you know why? Because there are thousands of horror stories with United Healthcare. Ask anybody on the street if they've had a positive experience with their healthcare provider. I would imagine you'd be hard-pressed to find a single, even lukewarm response, like, oh, it was okay, I guess. No, it's almost always entirely negative with these companies, and United Healthcare is legitimately, statistically, provably the worst one. They have the most denied claims. If you gathered every grain of sand on planet Earth and piled it all together, it probably wouldn't even amount to the amount of denied claims United Healthcare is responsible for at this point. It's just out of control. Completely out of control. So yeah, I just had to rant about this again. I could not believe this when Matt sent it to me, that United Healthcare has the fucking chutzpah to threaten this surgeon after she spoke about her experience with an absurd situation with this company. Unbelievable. That's about it. So yeah. Whenever I see a massive company start to show signs of failure and going down the path of collapse, I'm often reminded of the late, great Blockbuster, God rest its soul, the pioneer who really did it first, a company deemed too big to fail, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And since then, there's been a couple other companies that have gone down a similar path, and right now there is a new one pulling a Blockbuster, Niji-Sanji. Whether or not you're a huge VTuber fan, you're at least familiar with the industry. VTubing is huge, and it has been for years now. It's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions. And in this space, there are two agencies that stand atop the others as kind of the titans of the space. It's HoloLive and Niji-Sanji. Now, Niji-Sanji has an English branch that right now is going through one of the most foul displays of mismanagement, cruelty, and just downright terrible business practice I've seen in quite some time. It's a real head scratcher because every single day they continue to dig themselves a deeper and deeper hole. It's like this company is run by a Voltorb that is obsessed with using the move self-destruct. It is just bent on burying itself. So I definitely wanted to talk about it now that I'm fully caught up on the situation. There is so much to go over. There's a really good video that breaks down like the main timeline here for what happened. It comes from Mujin. I'll go ahead and play the main catalyst for this, and then I'm going to actually turn to a series of Reddit comments that were left that I think go over the entire history of the Niji-Sanji problems that have come to light, and then fast forward to what just happened last night, where an even bigger controversy just unfolded. So there really is a lot to cover, and all of it's looking terrible for Niji-Sanji, the English branch, that is. Now, when I first was made aware of this on stream a little while ago, I said that I'm not even surprised by it because a lot of these VTuber agencies have a history of some very terrible things going on behind the scenes. Many of you know I started my own agency for YouTubers and streamers a while back called Human Media Group. We recently merged with Jimmy Here's group and became Mana Talent Group. And over the years, I've actually seen a couple of these VTuber contracts that they were formerly under. And it is downright evil what some of them were doing to the talent that they manage. I obviously can't get into the specifics of it, but it is some horrible stuff, that some really bad stories and bad things that we saw from that. But even being familiar with some of the horror stories that we'd learned over the years from some agencies, I was shocked to see just how bad Niji-Sanji was here. So I want to focus more on the most recent stuff that just happened, but I still would like to give you a foundation for what started all of it. So for that, I'll turn to this clip from Mujin's video that breaks down this whole situation and just give you the catalyst. This was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, fundamentally, that kicked off this world war against Niji-Sanji, all of which they brought upon themselves by being just complete, unreasonable, evil assholes.
It all started on Christmas Day, a day you're meant to enjoy with family. It couldn't have gone worse. The trigger for this entire catastrophe? A music video. Selin had worked on a music video for her fans. She paid $15,000 out of her own pocket because Niji-Sanji wouldn't fund it. And on top of not funding it, what did? They take down the video in under 24 hours. No explanation to the public. Remember what I said about corporations and how they have access to all social media of their VTubers? Yeah, that's what happened, and she couldn't do anything about it. All she could realistically do under the very tight contracts and NDAs of a corporation is make up a vague tweet, sort of explaining what's going on to her fans.
Selin was a VTuber that was very popular and was with Niji-Sanji's English branch. And she had a history of being super involved in her community. She called them Dragoons. And she wanted to do a special music video for the community and paid $15,000 out of her own pocket to make it happen for the fans. And she posted it, thinking that it was totally okay to do because she self-funded it when Niji Sanji declined to, but they made a big stink about it and took the video down, even though she had permission for the song that was used, and even though it came from her own piggy bank instead of theirs. They didn't like that it didn't get the proper approval through the internal management. Because the way Niji Sanji runs their company, it's with a fucking iron fist. You need permission to fart on stream as a VTuber under that agency. And since she didn't get all of the proper channels to sign off on it, they took it down. Which of course was a huge hit to Selin and her community because they worked very hard on that project. So she made a vague statement explaining that, well, management took it down, but she actually encouraged her community to re-upload it across the platform because she wanted it to live on. And she assumed that would be okay because, it's not on her channel anymore, so they shouldn't have a problem with it. But they did. This soured relations between Selin and Niji Sanji, and behind the scenes it led to a lot of harassment and bullying from Niji Sanji against Selin.
Because out of nowhere, on December 27th, she tweets on her account, "I apologize for the silence. I've been in the hospital after an accident and will be staying there for a few days to be under supervision. I just got back access to my phone yesterday." Now, of course, people were happy she was out of the hospital, but the concern was still there. It was very vague and people didn't know what was going on. The Selin Tatsuki termination notice. "I will not be silenced anymore. On December, I was hospitalized for an attempt that was caused by a buildup of bullying from within and being in a toxic and poor environment for numerous months that led to my breaking point. I requested to leave first, but on more neutral terms on the 26th of January.
Obviously, I chopped this up and Frankenstein together this little segment to give you a very concise timeline. So, Selin made a post about how she's going to need to take some time away after an accident that landed her in the hospital. Everything was very vague. Eventually, she explains that she's been discharged from the hospital, and then shortly thereafter, Niji Sanji English branch announced the termination of Selin Tatsuki. The termination letter is very poorly explained as to why she's exactly being fired. Now, when it comes to VTubers, there's two ways that departing a company goes. One is a graduation stream, where they graduate from the company and it means that they are leaving on good terms. So they have like a big send-off farewell stream and that's the end of it. Sail off into the sunset, sunshine and rainbows, it's a happy ending. You get the good ending. Or there's this, where you just get publicly terminated and just fucking slapped down by the company like this. And in this case, obviously, Selin got the latter, where they just said, she's gone. Now, if you're not familiar with VTubing, when you sign with an agency like Niji Sanji, they basically own you. They give you your VTuber avatar, they own all of your socials, your channels, everything. You are unable to operate with any type of autonomy. You are under their thumb, and they basically own all of it. So she lost access to everything here, and she actually didn't even know she was being terminated. She found out when this tweet dropped. They didn't even notify her. And the tweet, again, is very poorly explaining things. They talk about Selin like it's a fucking IKEA furniture tutorial on how to put it together. It's just like talking about a bunch of nonsense about authorization flows not making sense and whatever. And then they cite like the music video and how when she made the tweet that management took it down, it damaged their brand and caused problems for them, this and that. It was just fucking stupid, a bunch of dirty barnacles. And then Selin went to her original account, her original brand of Doki Bird, to explain what actually happened, is that due to the harassment and bullying and the toxic environment Niji Sanji created, she made an attempt on her own life and landed in the hospital. Luckily, she survived and is still with us today, but she no longer would be silenced by this company and bullied into being silent, so she started to explain what happened behind the scenes that led to all of this stress and all of these problems. She lawyered up and is engaged in now a legal battle with Niji Sanji, presumably, that is being worked on. And that is where all of this really started. That's when the floodgates opened. And with all of this information out there now, people were able to go back to some previous Niji Sanji talent with a finer tooth comb and see that the signs of a sinking ship had been there for quite a while. Signs of a company that mistreats its employees, signs of a company that is mismanaged and just downright diabolical behind closed doors. And I want to go over that because we have a lore master in the comments section of a live stream fails clip that I think does an extraordinary job of just laying all of this information out. So our guide is Weebshitter69. A great name for a great philosopher. So Weebshitter starts by explaining what Niji-sanji is and how big Niji-sanji is, and then takes us back to the past. March 10th, 2023, one of Niji-sanji's newer talents, Zion Lanza, was terminated, which again is being fired, publicly, and then put out this bullet point list of the infractions that they accrued. And at the time, people sided with Niji-sanji, but then stated that the way they handled it was a little unprofessional, especially coming from a multi-million-dollar company, and just overall not great. But since Zion no longer had access to their accounts, she returned to her original account that she had before joining, which was Sayu Synchronicity. Now, if you've followed this story for a while, you've probably seen this meme tossed around about Sayu was right, or Sayu tried to warn us, and this is what they're referring to. On that account, she revealed more information about her own experiences inside the company, hinting at a toxic environment, incompetent management and bullying, stealth suspensions, etc., and she further stated that she hopes other talent realize their own worth and that they deserve better. Some people sided with Sayu, but most didn't at the time. Then in May of 2023, Selin Tatsuki hosts a contest letting her fans design her next outfit. Niji-sanji management tried to put a stop to the very act of compensating the artists for their designs, while also trying to assert that artists who enter the contest should hand over the rights to the artwork for free. Selin refuses this notion and pays the winners out of her own pocket instead. She, a while after that, hinted that management no longer allowed her to organize events anymore, which sounds about par for the course for a company like Niji-sanji, where July 8th of 2023, Nina Kosaka graduated, meaning they left on good terms, had a farewell stream, but then comes back later with VShojo, which is another VTuber agency, as Matara Khan. That information will be pertinent later. August 27th of 2023, Mista Rias also graduates, saying that he was burnt out and no longer had any drive, and reappeared shortly after as K9 Kudo as the first male VTuber in VShojo. Again, information that'll be important here soon. Once they settled in, statements from both of them saying how surprised they were that management in VShojo were actually helping them achieve their creative aspirations started to come out, and how they finally feel like they have worth after being repeatedly told by some that they did not, strongly echoing Sayu's previous statements, even revealing that they did not receive the YouTube plaques on their own channels during their time in Niji-sanji, but rather that the company kept them. So, Niji-sanji kept the plaques from the YouTube channels, meaning the 100,000 subscriber play button or the gold play button for 1 million. The talent didn't even see that, which is just such a scummy thing to do, obviously. Now, while Sayu was a relatively new member of Niji-sanji at the time, Nina and Mista were considered cornerstone, thus the tides started to slowly turn. And then they jump a bit forward in the timeline, and that's when they fast forward to the Selin Christmas catastrophe with the music video that got taken down by management. And then in January, with the departure of Pomu Rainpuff, more people started to wonder how bad things were at Niji-sanji. Pomu Rainpuff was one of their biggest VTubers and shocked everyone when they announced their graduation in January. And it was even more shocking when people didn't hear from Selin since they were friends. So that's when people started to worry about her safety. And then in February, another liver named Kyo Kaneko announced the graduation, which again brought the community into an uproar, wondering, why is there so many people departing all at once here? Is there like a waiting list, like this fucking purgatory or something with people waiting to go to the other side? And then on February 5th, Niji-sanji released that termination notice. And that's when Doki Bird talked about what actually happened with her hospitalization following her unalive attempt that was built up from the stress that Niji-sanji put upon her. And a lot of information started to come out, both from artists and other people who had previously worked with them, claiming that working with Niji-sanji was never very good. There was delay in payments, NDAs being sent multiple times with the wrong name, just so many different things. But Selin had always paid the artists out of her own pocket during this period of turmoil while trying to work with Niji-sanji. And following all of this new information coming to light, the public was understandably outraged, because this is just some deplorable garbage. The dam broke and they were flooded with tons and tons of angry fans. The tornado blew through and picked up 500 septic tanks, and the shitstorm that came with it was something that Niji Sanji couldn't have possibly predicted. So Niji Sanji's stakeholders started to suffer. They lost several sponsorships because of all of this. Apparently their stock price, like their valuation or whatever, started to plummet as well. It was a huge hit to their company, and it only continues to get worse by the day. So Celine revealed that she had spent like $250,000 of her own money on projects throughout the last year there, so she made no profit. And a very interesting piece of information that people brought up is that in December of 2022, Mista Rios had a slip of the tongue revealing that talent only gets 1% of merch sales, and other reports stating that it was a whole 2%. And this serves to showcase that Niji Sanji doesn't just harass and bully their talent directly, they also financially fuck them. That is downright criminal. Only giving 1 or 2%, if they're feeling gracious enough, of merch sales to the talent is mind-boggling. And I saw a couple people defending this, and let me just go ahead and take you in real quick because it looks like you blew in from Stupidville. That is unacceptable. Yes, the VTubers here don't actually own their avatar or anything. That does belong to Niji Sanji, and they signed the contract and agreed to that. But without them, that merch doesn't move. They are still the sole force for why that merch sells in the first place, thus should be compensated fairly. If they don't make that tweet about the merch being available, if they don't talk about it on stream, 0 people buy it. And to only give them a 1 or at most 2% cut of that is just laughably pathetic and it's just depraved, really. And this also led to a meme that you've probably seen if you've been keeping up with it, about how Niji Sanji's CEO was too busy on his yacht that he built on the back of his talent through exploiting them financially. It comes from this information, where apparently the CEO had flexed that he had a yacht that he had recently purchased or something. I didn't look into that too deeply, but I keep seeing that pop up everywhere with people citing different sources for it. I believe that that's probably something that happened because they are legitimately just exploiting their talent here. This is a completely unacceptable split. Under no circumstances should this be allowed. That is crazy. And what's even crazier is I know they're not the only ones that do that to their talent. In the VTuber space, I have seen some very unfair deals. Now, not this bad. I will say this is exceptionally horrible. But I wasn't surprised to learn that when I first saw that they take 98% of merch sales, because these VTuber agencies look for every possible way, at least the contracts I've seen from some of them, to squeeze every dime possible out of that talent while not letting them get the lion's share most of the time. I'm having to tiptoe around this a little bit because I don't want to get in any hot water with it. But yeah, it fucking sucks. That is awful. Now back to the Weeb Shitter archives here. Weeb Shitter then talks about what happened last night, which is what I want to talk about as well. So, the clip that he is referring to is Doki Bird was streaming. She has now come back to streaming, trying to, just have a good time with her community again, and things are going extremely well. She went from 10,000 subs to now over 500,000 subscribers. Her first stream back had over 100k concurrent. Absolutely fucking crushing it. And last night during her stream, which was her first gaming stream since being back, she had to end it early because fellow livers Alira Pandora, who'd been quiet since the announcement of Selin's termination, started a stream at the same time called A Message from Niji Sanji. And during the stream, she was joined by other Niji Sanji VTubers, Ike Eveland and Vox Akuma. Both of them were thought to be friends of Selin, or Doki Bird, and they read a totally not scripted message expressing how sad and betrayed they felt that Selin had given out personal information like real names and other required information about livers in her legal document that she sent over to Niji Sanji, and some of them stating that they had thoroughly read through it, as well as presenting Discord snippets between Selin and management. When it was presented by them thinking that it would absolve them. Now, I truly believe that Niji Sanji forced them to make this video. I think that they were 100% pressured into making this statement. I don't think the VTubers chose this, nor do I think they really believe what they were saying, because you'd have to be on some goddamn idiot juice to think that that was a good idea. Obviously, this is just inviting everyone in the community to throw tomatoes at you and scream, "Boo, boo, you stink." Like, it is a terrible statement from them, and the obvious big problem here, one that Doki Bird also had to call attention to, is that it seems Niji Sanji seemingly shared confidential information with these parties that are unrelated to the issues, which could potentially include her medical information. Which is fucking illegal. You can't do that. You can't just share this personal information. You can't break NDAs, and you certainly can't share sensitive medical information. There's protections in place for that. That's a highly illegal thing to do. Meanwhile, goofballs at fucking Niji Sanji here were real loosey-goosey with Doki Bird's information. Confidential information, it seems. So I'll go ahead and play the clip from Doki Bird when she learned about all of this.
Despite everything that has happened, I was very sad to find out a personal document that was only shown between 3 different parties had to be leaked out, because it was a document I made for my lawyer, and it was a document that was not supposed to be shown anywhere else but to me and my lawyer, and to the lawyers on the other side. And we were promised it was not to be shown anywhere else.
Because that's how the process is supposed to work in a fucking legal battle, where you're not sharing confidential information with others unrelated to the fucking legal battle taking place. But I guess Niji Sanji, being the goobers they are, for some reason tried to weaponize that information by giving it to Selin's friends, and most likely, I'll say there's a high chance, forcing them to make that video a message from Niji Sanji, which is a terrible video that I don't think they wanted to make, because they have to have known it'd be a disaster for them on a personal level. Like, their careers are definitely taking a hit because of that. Like, and I feel like they'd know that for sure. But I feel like Niji Sanji was trying to strong-arm them into doing it, because from the sound of things, it looks like anyone that signs with Niji Sanji is basically just their fucking hostage for the entire time you're with the agency. Doki Bird went on Twitter to once again say that it was never supposed to be shown to anyone other than me, the lawyer, and any other relevant lawyers. It was a private document with personal information, and then expressed concern, wondering if her medical and hospital records were also released without her consent, since that was also promised to be kept private. She says she's currently talking to her lawyer, and thankfully only her diagnosis and reason for hospital stay was reported without further private info being disclosed. So that's currently where everything's at right now, and Niji Sanji is bleeding out. So much so that the CEO made his own little YouTuber apology video, which is trash. I was going to play you clips from his apology video, but with Niji Sanji, you never really know what stupid shit they're gonna do, so I didn't want to risk getting a strike on it for covering it. So instead, I'll just go ahead and refer to the article here. One of the main things that he apologizes for off rip is that after announcing the termination of Selin, there was a notice that was published saying that the impact this would have on the company's performance would be negligible. And he says that this was a misunderstanding, and they used inconsiderate word choice for it, and recognizes that Selin was integral to the growth of Niji Sanji English branch. And really, the whole thing more just seems like a statement to investors, like on a business side of things, as opposed to like a legitimate apology for anything that happened. To me, it comes across as super corpo, soulless suit speak, like, yeah, we terminated Selin, whatever, that's well, who cares? What really matters is the investors not losing faith. So we'll make this video to try and regain that investor faith so we can keep raking in those big bucks. He promises like very vague things about change is coming, we need better systems in place that we're working towards this and that. but none of it really comes across as sincere, especially considering that if you really wanted to make a good faith, like strong stance, like we need to change, start with monetarily. It's now come out that your talent gets fucked financially when it comes to their split on like merch sales and things like that. If you really want to make a good faith, like convincing, compelling argument that you're going to change, start there. I would like to see that because you can easily showcase that one. It's going to be hard to convey to the public that you're changing things behind the scenes because, again, that's behind the scenes. It's always going to be something that the public's never going to be fully privy to. But your merch split with your talent, that is public. If you allow your VTubers to talk about it, they can say, hey, look, we just got raised up a ton of percentage when it comes to our merch split, and we really appreciate that. It's a sign of goodwill, you know, and maybe things will get better in the future elsewhere too. But personally, I don't see them making any meaningful changes to company culture or the way things happen behind the doors or anything monetarily. I just don't see them really doing a whole lot to improve. And I think the community feels largely the same way, which is why Niji Sanji continues to fester here. Now, while they haven't fully gone under or anything of that nature, they are definitely trending in a downward death spiral at the moment where it seems more graduations are on the way, most likely, or perhaps even terminations to more talent, and the public is not super excited about the future of Niji Sanji English branch. Now, the English branch of Niji Sanji is just one component of it. Its biggest is still the Japanese sector. But I have to imagine if the English branch flounders and fails, it's going to be bad for Niji Sanji as a whole because it still was a sizable chunk of their company, and that's going to affect that side of things too. So it's definitely something that they wouldn't like to see go away, I would imagine. But it's looking like it's going towards that direction. So anyway, I just wanted to cover this a bit because it is a huge deal and one of those situations where a company that was really at a point where it was probably too big to fail is starting to fail. Truly by their own mismanagement, own problems, and own toxicity. And I'm wishing the absolute best for Doki Bird going forward. Hopefully the legal process she's engaged in is smooth and an easy W, and hopefully her streams continue to pop off. So best of luck to her, and yeah, that's really about it. See ya. Are you a gamer? Me too. And as a gamer, I have intricate, deep knowledge of all of our strengths and weaknesses. And no matter how hard you work, there will always be one weakness that I'm going to exploit right now. A single word that can induce vomiting in even the strongest, most seasoned of gaming barbarians. And that word is Fextra Life. It was tough even getting that one out. If you've ever played a new game, you've probably Googled something about it, and among the first links on the search results is Fextra Life. And it is such a scourge. Nobody goes to Fextra Life on purpose. It's like falling into the back rooms. It's this thing that unfortunately happens all too often when a new game comes out and you want some information or a guide on it, so you just Google it and you click the first link and all of a sudden you accidentally just paid a visit to Fextra Life. And it is such a tragic betrayal. It feels worse than finding out your partner's cheated on you. Fextra Life is a wiki on pretty much anything new that's come out, but they also indulge in some very shady practices that I want to talk about today. But just to talk about the website itself, I and very many others are not huge fans of this site. I personally have never really found anything of value there. It really seems like Fextra Life is so consumed with the idea of being first to guides on games that they don't bother to make sure that it's right or good. So if you go to like the Elden Ring section on Fextra Life, and trust me, I did when the game was still new and I was looking things up, some of what they presented there was just legitimately wrong or incomplete. So you just get like halfway through and it's like, okay, what now? Oh, it's not here on Fextra Life. Because it seems like all they care about is just being first and taking advantage of that wave of new people that are just really trying to get information. You would honestly have better luck finding quality guides in a YouTube comment section than on Fextra Life. So I don't really like this site that much. But that's not even what we're here to talk about. It just being a subpar wiki site isn't exactly the most interesting topic. I'd like to speak about the slimier, greasier side of this organization, because they're no stranger to scandals here. They see controversy and they fucking tap dance on it. They go a bit wacko mode. They have, for many years, been accused of certain things on Reddit, the land of the updoots, most recently with Baldur's Gate 3. They have actually just been blacklisted from a subreddit called Baldur's Gate 3 Builds because they were suspected of vote manipulation, downvoting links to the community wiki, and using bots to keep Fextra Life on top while throwing more things that compete with them into the garbage, flushing that shit right down the toilet. And this isn't the first time they've been accused of using bots for similar purposes. A while back, the Dark Souls community also had some very strong accusations against Fextra Life for other manipulative tactics used by them on the community posts and subreddit. So Fextra Life is just negatively viewed by pretty much everyone, even outside of just the quality of their wiki pages. Also heavily criticized for the way they conduct themselves and the way they try and keep Fextra Life on top, artificially, supposedly. Now, the Fextra Life owner has responded to all of the conversation and hoopla going on right now about them. The biggest one, and the one that I'm mainly going to be focused on, is the cooking of the books with their Twitch numbers. That's a big topic that's been around for many years, and they do talk about this here. But just to piggyback on the back of this Reddit accusation, they're coming forward and saying that, nope, that's a bunch of horseradish. Not real, not true, that's not us. We didn't use bots, and in fact, they even said, I didn't know Reddit bots were a thing, which is complete hogwash. What do you mean you didn't know Reddit bots were a thing? Yes, you did. Everybody knows that. It's totally fine to come defend yourself against the accusations and point out, logical inconsistencies or the evidence isn't strong enough. But why tell a bold-faced lie like that in your defense? I'm so innocent, I've never even heard of bots, I think you called them. The only bot I know is the Autobots. We don't even know what this is. We're so innocent. That's the weirdest defense attempt. Why would you say that? Bots are a thing on every platform everywhere, and everyone knows it. Bots are a thing on Twitch as well, which Fextra Life is no stranger to, since Fextra Life is basically botting all of their Twitch viewer numbers thanks to their embedding video practice that they use. I'm sure bots isn't the preferred nomenclature for Fextra Life when it comes to their viewer numbers. They might use something a little more bubbly, a little more PR friendly, like less than sentient spectators, or perhaps blissfully unaware viewers of the Fextra Life stream. But this has been a controversial hot topic for quite a few years now. This comes up at least once or twice a year. If you have ever gone on Twitch during a new big game release, within the first or second on that page is Fextra Life. They have an average of 30k viewers when a game is new, and if they're playing an older game, they'll still average 10k plus. But if you ever click on their stream, you're gonna smell something a little fishy in there. It gets a bit stinky in the swamp, because there is no chat activity. Maybe 2 or 3 people chatting to each other in a 30,000 person stream, which is very odd. 30k is huge. They are among one of the biggest channels when it comes to concurrent viewers, at least when new games are present, and no one's talking. 30,000 viewers on their stream, but their chat is a goddamn ghost town. It's an absolute barren wasteland. You'd find more life in Chernobyl than you would in a Fextra Life 30,000 plus viewer stream. So how is that possible? It has to do with a very controversial practice they engage in called embedding, where they embed their Twitch stream on their wiki site. And not just on the front page, on every single page of their site. So, let's say you open the Elden Ring Fextra Life page. You'll see that the stream is in the top left. They're currently offline as of me making this video, but when they're online, it would be right there. And now let's say you want to go deeper, you're looking at build guides or something. If you go to one of those pages, the stream is also embedded there. It's on every single page of Fextra Life, their stream is embedded, meaning no matter where you go, you will count as a viewer for their Twitch stream.
Sitting here, 30,000 viewers. the chat slower than fucking a 200 viewer streamer. This is pathetic. Twitch doesn't give a fuck, yeah. And that's the thing, is like, how are we really gonna get mad at them? They're just playing the game. They're not breaking any rules. So as you can see right here, inside of their wiki here, they have the stream embedded in this tiny little box. And this tiny little box here is why they have 31,000 viewers.
Now, I have seen conflicting reports where if you open multiple Fextra Life tabs, you will count as multiple viewers since it's embedded on each one, but I haven't seen like 100% concrete confirmation that that's how Twitch would calculate that, but there is a bit of evidence to suggest that it might. So I just want to put that out there as a possibility. Take it with a grain of salt. That is something that's been being discussed as well, because since it is embedded on every page, a lot of people like me open many tabs. So I might have like 3 different Fextra Life tabs open, and that's 3 different embed sources. So I guess it could count as 3, but again, I'm not sure 100% if that's true. But what is true is you do count as a viewer when you are on Fextra Life, no matter what page you're on. You are absolutely not watching the stream. I have no doubt there is literally 0 sentient human beings with a fucking pulse that are watching the Fextra Life stream on the Fextra Life website, because it's a tiny little box that just hides away in the top left, and no one's going to be watching it on that. It'd be like watching it on a Game Boy Color. Like, it's fucking worthless. No one's doing that. It's there just to gamify those numbers and pump that shit up. Like, absolutely skyrocket their viewership numbers on Twitch while adding no real organic viewers to it, and obviously no one in the chat. Now, another thing, most people, like me, will keep these tabs open for a long period of time. So even if Fextra Life's offline right now, if I just keep this tab open, when they go online, I'm counted as a viewer even if I'm not home. Like, even if I forget the tab's open, I'm still counted in their viewership numbers. And to prove just how prevalent this is with viewers that are just accidentally watching Fextra Life because they have the tab open somewhere, a streamer named Quinn went into their offline stream after Fextra Life had concluded and just did a command that showed how many viewers were still there even though the stream wasn't going on. Now, this is something that does exist on normal Twitch streams with normal people watching them. There is something called like an offline community where if a streamer goes offline, there's pockets of people that'll hang around and just talk to each other in the offline chat, but not very many. It's a small number compared to the overall viewership. But for Fextra Life, it's almost their entire fucking viewership is still in their stream even when they're offline. Meaning, it's just people that have a Fextra Life wiki tab opened somewhere, not actually a viewer of their stream.
Surely my anguish and despair will ring on someone's ear.
23,000 current chatters. Okay, dude. All right, I'm a day streamer, boys. I guess this is what a 23,000 person chat looks like, guys. It's not a. You're disgusting. If you insinuate that there's not 23,642 people right here, right now, you are fucking disgusting for implying that these are view bots and they're not actually there. Okay. Literally 23,000 people in this offline chat. Come on.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. So the offline chat was over 23,000 current chatters. So meaning that's 23,000 people in the stream right there, and not a single message. And also, there's no such thing as an offline chat that has 23,000 people in it. Not even the biggest streamers in the world have anywhere close to that as an offline chat number. That is people that are just on the Fextra Life wiki with tabs open. They're not actually watching the Fextra Life streams. It's fucking ridiculous. Now, it is important to note, Fextra Life is not the only stream that takes advantage of this embed protocol. Like, they're not the only ones that employ this tactic, but they are the ones that are the most egregious because they paste it on every single page on their wiki, and there's tons of pages you can't avoid it. And obviously, whatever they're streaming isn't going to be relevant to every single page on their wiki site. It's people that aren't actually watching the stream. It is no different, really, than viewbotting, which is an argument people have been making for years. And naturally, this discussion always inevitably ends up with asking the question, why doesn't Twitch stop it? And the answer's super simple. Why the fuck would they? This only helps Twitch. These big numbers are great for Twitch. This looks fantastic for them. There is no downside to allowing streamers to embed their streams everywhere else. It's a free advertisement for Twitch, free numbers that help everything on their platform. Like, Twitch has no incentive to shut that down at all. Even though it's very clear that 23,642 people aren't actually in the Fextra Life offline chat or watching their streams, it doesn't matter because it only serves to help Twitch. So why would they put the kibosh on something like that? They allow it, and Fextra Life isn't breaking any rules. A lot of people have said don't hate the player, hate the game, and they're kind of right. Fextra Life is not breaking any rules. They are legally view-botting their streams and have been for a very long time, proudly. So this has obviously been controversial for a while because, as you might imagine, this doesn't help other streamers because Fextra Life will always take either the number 1 spot or the number 2 spot in a brand new game release, and they're not actually having people watch them. It's fake, phony numbers because of the way they embed their streams on their site. So it takes those spots away from streamers that deserve it more, who actually do have communities that watch their streams. They no longer have those slots that Fextra Life takes up. So obviously it makes a lot of streamers, when a new game comes out, mad because they can't compete with Fextra Life view-botting, fundamentally. It's been that way for a long time, and I don't see it changing, but a lot of people are talking about it again, so I thought it'd be an interesting topic to discuss again, especially considering this time around the owner has spoken about it. So this is their response to all of the view-botting allegations. They state that a view bot is when you use artificial and non-existing browsers to inflate views on Twitch, and that does try to fool advertisers because A, it plays an ad, and B, nobody is watching. Real quick before continuing, they're getting a bit lost in semantics here as opposed to making real arguments on how what they're doing is different. Fextra Life streams often have sponsors, and sometimes very big sponsors. I imagine they sell their streams with their concurrent viewer average, which is like between 10 and 30,000 viewers. It's huge. But most companies probably aren't going to really look into that, so they're going to assume their ad is being seen by 10 to 30,000 people. It's not. As is very clearly illustrated, 23,000 of those people aren't actually even in the stream. They're on Fextra Life with the stream pulled up muted in some tab, not even aware that it's going on. So these companies aren't actually getting their ads placed in front of 30,000 viewers. They're getting it placed in front of, I have no idea, maybe a few hundred, maybe 1,000. There's really no way of knowing, because there's no real activity in their stream to judge it on or anything remotely like that. So it really isn't different than a view bot. When you do play an ad on Fextra Life, nobody is watching. Same way as if you would play an ad during a stream that is just completely view botted in the traditional sense. Nobody is watching the Fextra Life ad that the company has paid for, even though there's 30,000 viewers. I would love to see the back end of a return on a Fextra Life sponsorship, because I imagine it has to be unbelievably low since most of the viewers are from the embedded Twitch streams. So it is misleading to advertisers, which is another criticism a lot of people have put forth, and I think it's very valid to say that, because again, most of the viewers are not actually watching the Fextra Life stream. They then say embedding is an advertisement of the stream to real people on real browsers on an external website. Like any integration, the objective is to get people to click and go to Twitch. No advertisements are played on the embedded unit, generating zero revenue. Embeds are part of the intended code of Twitch and are intentional features that anyone can use, and many content creators besides us do. These are real people that we have worked tirelessly to build up into our community. What community? You tirelessly built up an imaginary community. The Fextra Life community you refer to is more made up than the Tooth Fairy. There is nobody in your Twitch streams. Nobody. Like, I can't tell if they're being intentionally delusional here or if they actually think that what they're doing is somehow totally, the same as just building up a normal community. It's not. Your embedded Twitch streams are not driving your Fextra Life wiki readers to your Twitch stream. There is no call to action to it that I've ever seen. It just automatically is playing whenever you're on any page on Fextra Life. How the fuck can you possibly make an argument saying that what you're doing is just an advertisement to get those people on your wiki to the streams? Because it's not. The streams aren't even relevant to what your readers are reading. What's being streamed is completely separate from whatever they're on your site to read about. There's no chance that the two could even connect most of the time, unless of course it is a new release like Armored Core. Then I'm sure there is some crossover where someone went to Armored Core, Fextra Life, got some bad information, but saw you were streaming and was like, okay, maybe I'll check it out. That's possible, but that's clearly not the goal. If that was the goal, you would only embed your streams on the newest releases because they'd be relevant to each other, as opposed to just having it embedded on every single page where it makes no sense. Why would an Armored Core 6 Fextra Life stream be playing on my Dark Souls 3 Fextra Life wiki? And how the fuck would you possibly think that I'm on Dark Souls 3 wiki but might want to watch Fextra Life streaming Armored Core 6? It's just, that is a nonsensical statement to try and say that your embeds are only there to try and get people from your actual wiki to your streams. That's not the goal. The goal is just to artificially inflate your numbers because it's automatically playing and they count as viewers. What embedding does for me is make my website audience aware I'm a person, I'm streaming, and I can show them games that I think they'd be interested in. Again, that argument doesn't work when the website is all about game information. It's not a personality-driven site. They're not going to Fextra Life hoping that they'll see that Fextra Life is also live on Twitch. They're going there because they're looking for guides and information on the game that they are currently playing. That doesn't make any sense. What embedding does for Twitch is give them free advertising for their platform and an ongoing conversion from our website to Twitch. These new people were not on Twitch otherwise, and they're still not on Twitch. They're not going there. They're not going to Twitch. You can tell because there's no one in your chat. I don't know why they keep trying to say that. Yes, it is a free advertisement for Twitch. It's free numbers for their metrics, absolutely. But they're not actually getting new people to Twitch that weren't already endemic to Twitch. They're not bringing new viewers there. They're just idly on the Fextra Life wiki and it counts as a view on Twitch. And then they say they hopefully come back and become part of the Twitch ecosystem. It doesn't happen. Our embed is by no means a secret. It's very visible. In fact, it's the best possible spot on our website, and there's even a command for it on our channel. And as part of the channel rules, the idea that it's a fraud is also absurd. Our sponsors are aware of the embed, and it's a great deal for them to be able to promote their content on both Twitch and to our site users at the same time, particularly in the prime location that the embed has on our website. So this is very interesting to me. The sponsors are aware of the embedding. That's great. Are they also aware that the vast majority of your Twitch metrics come from that embedding? And are they also aware that that means it's muted? That means that their sponsorship package, the ad read, all of it, the vast majority of those numbers that it's being put in front of aren't even aware it's going on because it's muted and it's not visible. It's a very tiny box. Do the sponsors know that? I certainly hope so, because that would be very shady if you didn't make the sponsors aware that their ad read is going to be muted for the vast majority of the audience, and it's not going to be seen by them either because the box is too small and the viewers aren't actually on Twitch. I would hope you'd make them very well aware of all of the shortcomings of doing an ad with Fextra Life, since most of the viewer numbers come from a fucking tiny embed on a completely separate site that, again, is also muted. So hopefully you have made all of your partners aware of that. The owner does continue going on to other criticisms people have put forth against Fextra Life, such as AI-driven content or it being lazy, stuff like that. But that wasn't the focus of what I wanted to talk about today. The statement is still very much up if you want to see how they defend themselves against other claims. But these were the main things I wanted to talk about in regards to this situation, because this is a conversation that comes up at least once or twice a year. And it is a very interesting one about embedding, view botting. It is an interesting topic that I just wanted to talk about a bit, since a lot of other people are also discussing it, and I think it's something worth going over. So that's really about it. So yeah. There's no shortage of horrible companies in the video game industry, but there's one that's been able to fly under the radar for way too long now, even though it's just as slimy and scummy as some of the more mainstream ones people like to spit on, and that's Nexon. You've probably heard of them because of MapleStory. That's by far their biggest game, their magnum opus, the cash cow that they're addicted to milking, and for a long time now they've been able to tiptoe around in the shadows, hiding their stink from the public nostrils. But last month, they flew a little too close to the sun, and we could start to smell their odor. And I swear to God, it smelled like shit. About a month ago, they decided to start bullying a smaller developer named Iron Mace, who's working on a game that I am a massive fan of called Dark and Darker. I played every playtest so far, and I have been absolutely loving it. But love is a concept that doesn't exist at Nexon, only cold, hard dollar bills that they were missing out on. They're like the Mr. Krabs of video games. So they started to put Iron Mace in their crosshairs, claiming that the Dark and Darker developers stole from Nexon. They said that not only did they steal code from an unreleased project at Nexon called P3, they stole assets from that project. And basically the claims boiled down to there was an employee at Nexon back in 2021 who was working on a project called P3 that is similar to Dark and Darker. That employee apparently was talking about like leaving and starting their own company, kind of expanding upon this P3 idea. He ended up being fired, and then, fast forward to late 2022, we have Dark and Darker, which bears some resemblance to that P3 project. So Nexon is claiming that they stole from them, citing assets and code that was ripped directly from that unreleased project, as well as idea theft, saying that this was a Nexon idea and thus they don't really have the right to use it. Which is why that title is You Can't Copyright a Game Genre, because this is an extraction style game. It's a genre that's well established. The only spin on it is, instead of being guns like Tarkov, it's medieval weaponry. And it fucking bangs. This shit fucks. It is amazing. I love Dark and Darker. And unfortunately now, Nexon has gone so far as to issue a police raid on their studio headquarters, and as I understand it, they didn't find anything there. They reassured fans that it was quick and nothing was found, and there will be no delay in development and nothing to worry about. So I'm guessing they went there and got a giant fucking nothing sandwich served to them. There was, I suppose, no stolen code, no hidden secret documents from Nexon, no Krabby Patty secret formula, just some hardworking developers and their project. But that's not where this story stops. In fact, today, this is why we're talking about it, today Nexon has once again escalated this conflict and issued a full-blown cease and desist to Dark and Darker, which has led to it being pulled from Steam. So effectively shut down for the time being, all based on these claims that it was stolen from them. Of course, Iron Mace denies all the allegations, saying that Dark and Darker's code was built from scratch and its assets were either purchased from the Unreal Marketplace or designed internally. And if you've played Dark and Darker, you're going to notice like half of the assets in this game come from the Unreal Marketplace. I play a lot of shit on Steam new releases, and I can recognize half of the models in Dark and Darker from all of the other games I've played. And that's not a problem. The assets are there for a reason. Plus, it's still like in very early playtesting stages, so of course they're going to be using assets. I don't know what fucking assets they're even claiming are stolen from Nexon, unless Nexon like has some kind of monopoly on the Unreal Marketplace where it's all their assets. They're like the kingpin and their drug empire is the Unreal Marketplace. It just doesn't make any sense because, again, half or even maybe more than half of Dark and Darker uses just standard store-bought Unreal assets. So to me, the claim is extremely confusing. Like, I don't even feel like Phoenix Wright could make an argument that some of these assets are stolen from Nexon's unreleased P3 project, because again, so much of Dark and Darker is Unreal assets. Like, I can't imagine them being like, oh my god, that rock that's in the middle of that prison cell is actually from P3. I'd recognize it anywhere. That is a distinct rock that was developed in-house at Nexon. It's our pride and joy. Oh my god, and that chalice that players can collect, that golden goblet of fire, that was from Nexon. Yeah, you've stolen it from us. Like, I don't know where there's even wiggle room for them to make claims that some of these assets were stolen, because so much is from fucking Unreal assets. But regardless, moving forward, Iron Mace developers have of course made a statement about this whole thing. They've said, to all our fans, we have recently been served a cease and desist letter and DMC takedown by Nexon regarding Dark and Darker based on distorted claims. We are currently working with our legal team to remedy this issue in the best manner possible. Due to the sensitive legal nature of this issue, we must be careful with our statements so as to not jeopardize our position. We ask for your understanding as we work to get the game back up as quickly as possible. Please know that we will do all that is possible for our fans. Thanks. A very sweet message. Throughout this entire discourse, Iron Mace has seemed extremely professional. But I just want to point that out. They have seemed like absolute sweethearts here in the face of bullshit. This, to me, I'll break this down and give my whole perspective on this after researching all of it. This, to me, feels like Nexon bullying a smaller company because they feel like they've missed out on a golden goose here, because Dark and Darker has become extremely popular, and they did have an idea that was similar to it called P3. P3 never got off the ground, Dark and Darker did. This really feels like it's almost some level of vengeance and spite against Dark and Darker's success. Nexon has hundreds and millions of dollars they can throw into the shitter at this and completely bleed Iron Mace dry, since they are a smaller company and they're going to fight this legal battle tooth and nail, it seems, which is extremely upsetting considering these claims aren't 100% proven to be accurate anyway. In fact, at least according to police raid, they didn't even find any evidence to support the claims, but yet they've still managed to DMCA cease and desist this game and get it removed from Steam. and now Iron Mace is going to have to engage in a lengthy and very expensive legal battle with this absolute titan of douchebaggery. Nexon is just an absolute trash company, and even if every single one of their claims is accurate, 100% truthful, they're still a horrible, garbage piece of shit company regardless. Even from everything outside of Dark and Darker, even before this, they've been a terrible company, but this especially. And I'll go a step further. Maybe we're getting into dicey, spicy territory here, but I'm just gonna say it with my whole chest. If all of Nexon's claims are accurate, Dark and Darker did take that idea from Nexon and build upon it, and even if they used a couple of assets that they developed while working at Nexon, I don't give a fuck. In fact, I view them more as heroes. I respect them more if they did that, because Nexon can suck the dirtiest part of my asshole. I cannot stand that company. I think that would be great if that really was the case. I don't think the Nexon Corporation should have the legal right to have this stranglehold on a video game idea that they didn't even make themselves. This idea was cooked up by the creative minds that were let go from Nexon in the first place. Thus, since they're no longer at Nexon, I feel they should be able to explore that idea and build upon it privately in their own way at their own studio, even though that idea was something they may have had while working elsewhere. They are no longer working there, that company is no longer working on that project, thus the team that actually made the idea and the prototypes should be able to take that work and build upon it on their own. I don't know if that's a hot take, but again, assuming every claim from Nexon is accurate, even still, it makes it clear that the idea and the work was done by employees that were let go from Nexon. Thus, it shouldn't be their idea anymore, Nexon's idea. It should be the individual's idea who actually came up with it in the first place. Thus, I feel like they should have the right to continue to work on it if they choose to. But again, it's important to reiterate that as of right now, there's still no real hard evidence against Iron Mace. Nothing that's really supporting Nexon's big claims of stolen code, stolen assets, and shit like that. So we're just gonna have to wait to see how all this unfolds, but it's really disappointing to see that Dark and Darker is no longer up on Steam, because another playtest was right around the corner that I was extremely excited for, as were a lot of people. So hopefully this situation can get resolved pretty quickly. That's about it. See ya.